Okay. Okay, good morning, Shavua Tov. Welcome back. So this morning, just in time. So this morning we want to do Psalm 92, as you can see in front of you. Psalm 92 is Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat. And I want to begin with something I said last week to end. This poem, this psalm, in many ways, is directly connected to Psalm 29. And in terms of the makeup of the Siddur, I love the poem Lecha Dodi. I told you we'll try to take a class. We'll try to, take one class away from Psalms and do that poem, because it's an amazing poem. It's a great poem. It has so many wonderful allusions and quotations from Shir HaShirim, from Sefer Yeshayahu. But really, Psalm 29, Havul Hashem, should really be connected to Psalm 92, because it just makes sense. It makes sense on like levels of connections. They both have some of the same images. Arzei Lebanon, they talk about the cedars of Lebanon. They talk about Karnei Re'im, the horns of the wild ox. So there are some of the images are the same, but I think there's an even more important connection. I don't know how many of you, were here or going to remember what I'm going to say. When we learned Psalm 118, which is the last of the Psalms in Hallel, what I pointed out, what I tried to emphasize is that Psalm is very different from the earlier Psalms in Hallel. The earlier Psalms in Hallel emphasize the word Hallelujah, Hallel. When you get to 118, the word Hallel, Hallelujah does not appear. The word that's emphasized is Hodu. In 29, we're talking about Havul Hashem Kavod, give God glory, honor, say wow. Our poem is, you look in the second verse, Tov Lahodot Lashem. So very much like in Hallel, we're going from Hallel, which is a statement, I think the best way to say it is it's a statement of wow. That's Hallel, wow. It is a visceral and spontaneous reaction. Lahodot is a considered reaction, because the root of the word thank you, thanksgiving, and appreciation is really an admission. It's something you've thought through, and I've come to the conclusion, I owe so much to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I owe so much to God. So that's why I think it would be beautiful if the poems were really connected one to the other. Because very much like over there, you start with the wow, and then you go to the more considered reaction to the presence of Hashem, the power of Hashem, the bounty of Hashem, and I just think that it would just be more powerful. And apparently, at one time, that actually was the custom before the Ari interposed the poem written by Reb Shlomo Alkabetz, who was his friend, in that spot, because it's really a break in the action, and then you go back on. But now let's actually start the poem. And this poem is recited on Shabbat, a minimum of 3 times. Friday night, which is what we're sort of in the context of right now, and again Shabbat morning as part of the extended Psukei de Zimra. And it's then at the end of Tefillah on Shabbat as the Shir Shel Yom for Shabbat, as the daily Psalm recitation for Shabbat. The daily Psalm recitation, which we've talked about a little bit, that was what the Leviim were singing when the Kohanim were bringing the Korban for that day. That's what's going on with that that psalm. So 3 times we recite it. There is, not Nusach Ashkenaz, but there is a minhag in some Sephardic, some Edot Mizrach minyanim, or Nuschot, to say it also at Mincha as part of their korbanot. About Sephardim and korbanot. If you're going to a Sephardi minyan, you can come 10 minutes late because they're saying all those korbanos, right? Okay. So there's some minhagim that do it 4 times a week, but basically, or on Shabbat. But basically, our custom is to do it 3 times. And the reason for that, which I'll say a little bit more about Bezrat Hashem next week, is there are 3 aspects to Shabbat. And Mizmor Shir L'Yom Shabbat is applicable to all 3 of them. How do I know? How do I know that Shabbat has 3 totally different aspects to it? And this is the only day of the year that this is true. Every other day of the year, I don't care whether it's a Chag or it's Rosh Chodesh or it's a Monday. Every other day of the year basically has 1 major aspect, but Shabbat has 3. And the reason I know it is it's the only day of the year where the Ma'ariv Amida, the Shachrit Amida, and the Mincha Amida are different. Because there's Friday night, we're talking about the Shabbat of creation, Vayichulu Hashemayim Va'aretz. In the morning, we're talking about the Shabbat of Matan Torah, Yismach Moshe b'matnat choko, that he's very happy about the portion that God gave him, although we'll see a different interpretation of that in about a minute and a half. And then when we finally get to the end of Shabbat, Mincha is saying, Ata echad v'shimcha echad, when is God going to be one and his name one? Yemot HaMashiach. After the Geula. So we have, a Shabbat of creation, a Shabbat of Matan Torah, and a Shabbat of Latid Lavo, the Achrit HaYamim, of the coming redemption. 3 aspects. So we say Mizmor Shir L'Yom Shabbat 3 times, because this is shayach. This is applicable to each of those 3 different aspects of the day. Excuse me 1 second. Perfect. Okay, so now let's actually begin the poem. Mizmor Shir L'Yom Shabbat. This is a Mizmor Shir. That's unusual. Usually it's a shir or it's a Mizmor. Mizmor Shir means it's both an amazing poem. The shir, by the way, is the poem. Shir in biblical Hebrew, in classical Hebrew, means a poem, doesn't mean a song. Mizmor, on the other hand, like Zmirot, the Mizmor means it's a song. So it's both a song and a poem. And in other words, it can be used in either aspect. L'Yom Shabbat, for the day of Shabbat. Now comes up that usually when you have Mizmor Shir or Mizmor, or you have Shir, they usually tell you who the author is. They don't tell us here who the author is. The tradition, who's the traditional author of... No, not this one. No. I'm sorry? No. I mean, I'm going to agree with you. Right. Right. Adam Harishon. That Adam said this on the very first Shabbat. The first human recited this on the very first Shabbat is the Midrash. However, the mystics later, I'm talking about really in the Middle Ages, they said, and by the way, most of the Hasidim agree with this point I'm going to make, and it's the point you were just making a second ago, is that we really got it from Moshe Rabbeinu. It had been forgotten, or Moshe Rabbeinu actually wrote it, and their proof to that fact is, look at the 4 words. If you look at the first letters, the Roshei Tevot, it says Le Moshe. So it's Mizmor Shir Le Moshe. Lamed in the 3rd word, Mem Shin He. Le Moshe. So that little hint is is enough for the Mekubalim and most of them, generally speaking, most of the Hasidim to say that we get the poem, even though it's written, it may have been or may not have been written by other Rishon, but we get it from Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay.
Why doesn't it say who wrote it?
The truth is, I don't know. Because so many of the poems that have this Mizmor have that. Why do they sometimes leave off? I don't know. I mean, it's possible. I'm not sure this is really a good answer. It's possible that in the time of David HaMelech or in the time of Ezra, they weren't sure. They weren't sure who the original author was. When you're later putting the 150 together, we know a majority of them are David, but we know a number aren't. They may not have been sure, and so they left it off the superscript. The question is, did the original authors write the superscript? And that's a big argument. Many people believe that they did, and traditionally we tend to believe that the author wrote the superscript. The superscript means the like the title, the Mizmor Shir or Mizmor LeDavid, but a lot, especially of both non-religious and religious chokrim, investigators today, think that the superscripts came much later from the time of Ezra. Well, that's what we would say. The other non-religious chokrim would say even later than that, but that they were added at a much later date. And the proof for the much later date is some of the superscripts are different in the Septuagint. So, yeah, so I'm really not sure. But, no, it's a good question. Okay, let's go to Pasuk Bet. Okay, Tov lahodot Lashem. This is one of my favorite psukim. This is one of those psukim when I read it, I wish I could sing. I wish I had a nice voice because this is just a beautiful. Tov lahodos. It's just a beautiful pasuk. It's a beautiful song. It's good to think about the appreciation that we have to have to a HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's just good to do that. And how is this line a follow-up to the superscript? Because when's the time that we can stop and truly show our appreciation for everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has created? Shabbat. During the week, we're rushing. During the week, you go back to chapter 29, which has, God's name 18 times, right? 18 times because the weekday Shmoneh Esrei is representing our praise for God. You have time to say, wow, and then get back to work, But on Shabbat, you can stop and you can appreciate. And that's going to be a major theme coming up, especially here in the first 6 psukim. It's going to change. When you get to Zion, you'll see there's a big water change in the tone and everything. But in the beginning, Tov lahodot Lashem ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. And to sing your supernal, what do I have here? Name. To sing hymns to your name, O Most High. So the question is Elyon an adjective or a noun? JPS here is saying it's a noun. What does Korah have?
To sing songs to your name, most
Yeah, so that's really as an adjective. Yeah.
Most high is a noun here.
Oh, really? Your name Most High?
No, your name, comma.
Oh, your name, comma, Most High. So you're addressing Hashem. I'm sorry, you're right. With the comma, it makes it into a. So he agrees with the JPS. The truth is, I'm not sure. I'm not sure it makes that much difference. Although there are many. Again, we're getting Hasidim and Mekubalim that say that the second half of the verse, number one, has an obligation to actually sing on Shabbat. that we really should, l'zamer, zmirot, we really should sing zmirot on Shabbat. But the Shimcha Elyon, look, I don't know how many of you look at this, at this stuff. Before each Su'udah, there is a mystical poem that are attributed to the Arizal, and it's, Askinu Su'udati. And in those poems, which I don't recite, okay? In those poems, it talks about special names for Kadosh Baruch Hu. So that there are, so number one, it could be you, Elyon, Most High, okay? But it also could be that on Shabbat, we are really going out of our way to address Hashem in names that we don't usually use during the week, so that we can feel a greater spiritual connection. Remember, knowing a name gives you greater connection. This is not just a Jewish idea, the woman that was spinning the gold could only get control over Rumpelstiltskin by learning his name. That names are very powerful, and we agree with it, but we don't believe that it's, well, I don't believe that it's magic. We believe that it's spiritual connection, although there are Mekubalim that think it's magic. Yeah, please.
I think it's referring to the name, because if it was Shimcha, it would be Ha'elyon, I think. If it was an adjective for Shimcha, I think it would be Ha'elyon.
It wouldn't have to. It wouldn't have to. Yeah, then it gets, okay. By the way, who was the first person to call Hashem Elyon? Melchizedek. I like this idea that we have this name for Hashem that we like a lot and we use periodically, and we got it from a goy. I think it's nice that Judaism feels confident enough to be able to, when you see a nice idea, adopt it. And so it makes it into right the same thing. Okay, same thing. I think it's a beautiful thing that that we generally 99.9% of stuff comes from Jews, but when we see something cool outside, we say, hey, that's kedai, that's worth picking up. Okay. But again, the idea here is we have time, slow down, okay? And now that we've slowed down, we can do lahagid baboker chastecha ve'emunatcha ba'lelot. Now, what does this mean? What's the difference between the praise for Hashem in the morning and the praise for Hashem at night? Now, first of all, I want to say something the Sfat Emet says. The Sfat Emet says Leilot is in the plural and Boker is in the singular because Leilot is talking about the 6 days of the week when we're walking around in the dark. But Shabbat is Boker. Guys, what's Boker? Yeah, but what does Boker represent? More than light. It represents Geula. We're supposed to say with sunrise, Baruch Atah Hashem, Ga'al Yisrael. So the morning is I'm going to add to the two words that you guys said, which were both cool and great. The morning is clarity. The morning is clarity. That things are clear to you in the bright sunshine of the morning. And then we can really say, oh, wow, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're so wonderful, everything is so great. But at night, when it's murky and we're a little bit afraid, sometimes a lot afraid, we still praise you, but we're praising you for the emunah, for the faith, based on the faith that we have in you. Chazal borrowed from this idea. How did Chazal borrow from this idea? In the morning, after we say Shema, right? We end Shema. You know, that's the famous joke. The rabbi asks the kid, what's the only pasuk in the Torah that Moshe said, but he didn't say emet. Oh, it's the last pasuk in Shema, because the pasuk in the Torah is Hashem Elokeichem. It ends, right? We added emet, so Moshe didn't say emet. Okay, so we added the word emet, but in the morning, what do we say? Emet v'yatziv, yatziv, stable, nachon, true, kayam, established, yashar, straight. Right? Ne'eman, faithful. Ahuv, beloved. Chaviv, sort of also beloved. But okay. Nechmad, valuable. Na'im, sweet. Norah, awesome. Adir, right? That's what we say in the morning. That's lahagid baboker chazdecha. We're really reciting at great length the chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Oh, and we go on 15 terms. 15 terms for the greatness of Hashem, right? And how, the world is a result because we feel that confidence in the morning. What do we say at night? What? Right. At night we say emet ve'emuna kolzot. At night, ve'emunatcha balelot. At night we just say, oh, I can't see the veracity of it. The clarity of it is gone because it's dark and murky. Remember, think before Edison, right? Nighttime was dark and scary, right? And they say, but I still believe in it. I still believe in it. And that's Pasuk Gimel. And I got to be honest, I really think, Chazal, when they put together these tefillot, I really think that they had this concept in mind when they did it. And I think it's a very, very important idea. Okay? Now, I just told you the position of the Sfat Emet. There's another position of many Mekubalim that when this pasuk is really saying that we're not truly talking about Shabbos. That even Shabbos nowadays is Lila. This is talking about Latid Lavo. This is talking about a future date of redemption. And that will be the morning of that Geula. Okay, in the future, that's what it's referring to here. Okay, I don't know. I really think that on the pshat level, that it's talking about on a daily basis. I think it's on a pshat level, it's daily basis. In the morning, things are, you feel better in the morning. You look around and you can see things, and and that's nice. And at night we have the trepidation, we have the concern, and we have to rely on our faith. Okay, Pasuk Daled. Okay, Pasuk Daled just doesn't move me. What can I tell you? As much as I love the poem, all I can think about is the bridge by Tachana Merkazit. So Pasuk Dalet is alei. By the way, it's a machloket whether we're talking about two kinds of instruments or three kinds of instruments. I have no idea. No, the alei asor is a 10-stringed harp. Okay, but is that the same thing as? Some people say the alei asor is a description of the alei navel, and the navel, which is also a harp, okay, was a 10-string. But other Meforshim say no. There's two different instruments, one in 10 strings, as opposed to the regular harp, which had, I don't know, I have no idea how many strings. I couldn't find anyone that said it's a different instrument that talked about how many strings it would have. I don't know. Okay. And then it says, alei higayon bachinur. Okay? So a chinur is not a violin, guys. Okay? A chinur is a lyre. is a lyre, which is also a stringed instrument. Okay, so how can we have stringed instruments if this is talking about Shabbos? So some people say, it's not talking about here. It's talking about in Shemayim. In Shemayim, the Malachim are playing instruments on Shabbat. I don't think that's what it means at all. I think it means that they sang it in the Beit HaMikdash. And in the Beit HaMikdash, the Leviim did play musical instruments on Shabbat. So it's a reference to the fact that there was musical accompaniment from these stringed instruments, okay, from these stringed instruments. And the reason the Leviim were trusted is because the only reason you can't play musical instruments on Shabbat is we're afraid that you might tune them, which is called tikkun kli. I'm sorry? Repair, right. Which is, the tuning is makabah patish or tikkun kli, tikkun mana, okay? So that's why we don't play instruments, because we're afraid, do you ever, look, again, I'm so non-musical that I'm embarrassed. But did you ever go to like a concert with a guy playing guitar and he starts to play and he stops and he starts fiddling with the thing? But the Leviim was so good at this that when they tuned it on Friday, it was set for all of Shabbat, and therefore they could play the musical instruments and that's what this is a reference to, I believe, in terms of Pshat. This is what it's a reference to. Okay.
Is there a verb in that sentence?
No. No, there is no verb in that sentence. It's just listing the musical instruments that were considered very, very beautiful to accompany the singing of this psalm, which actually happened in the Beit HaMikdash when the Leviim sang this song, and they were accompanied by the Leviim playing all sorts of instruments. What's interesting is that they don't mention there were other instruments. There were wind instruments, there were percussion instruments, but they only mention the stringed instruments. And the reason for that apparently is that the stringed instruments were considered to be more sublime. Yeah. As far as we know. Okay. I don't know. But the stringed instruments were considered to be more sublime than the other instruments were considered to be more, more mundane, if you will. Okay, so they only mention the stringed instruments, and David HaMelech, played many stringed instruments. So it's like, so it fits in, of course, with David HaMelech as well. Okay. Yeah.
So it's a noun.
Yeah. Hey, here we go. Ki simachtani Hashem b'falecha. This is one of the few times in Tanakh where the word ki means because. We always use the word ki to mean because. Usually, like 90% or more times when the word ki is used in Tanakh, it means that. Okay? And by the way, we're going to say... in the last pasuk, we're going to say the word ki in Tet Zayin. We're going to say the word ki in Yud, and it does mean because in those sentences. Well, we're not going to get to that today. We'll do that next week. But I assume. But here it means because. Everything I've said till now is because simachtani Hashem. God, you have gladdened me. You have affected me in a way. You've affected me in a way that can't help but make me feel simcha. Now, simcha, according to most Meforshim, means spiritual joy. That the more physical joy is usually like sason. The spiritual joy is usually simcha, even though we know the Gemara says ein simcha ela b'basar v'yayin, okay? But basically simcha is more of a spiritual attainment. Because I am just gladdened, Hashem, by all of your pu'ulach, all of your actions, everything you've done. It's like it's like I look around and I see the world that you've created and that you've made, and it just makes me feel good. Now, this idea about feeling good is nice. Number one, it's nice. But number two, remember, Wednesday, Rosh Chodesh Adar. Okay? So, Misha Nichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha. And so the question comes up, what do you do? To increase your joy at the beginning of, I've never seen anyone that agrees with the Gemara about Simchas Yontiv. On Simchas Yontiv, they say, Basar v'yayin. I've never heard anyone say that on the days leading up to Purim, you should have Basar and Yayin. I've never seen it. That the idea is some people say you should learn more Torah, which is always true, always wonderful, because the Rambam used to say, the Rambam used to say that the greatest, there's a sheet right here. The Rambam used to say that the greatest simcha is Talmud Torah. So that, that in and of itself is wonderful, right? Gesundheit. But others say, no. It's caught, and I like this answer. It's contemplating the miraculous aspect or the divine aspect of Purim, which is supposed to do to increase your joy and get yourself ready for Purim, is concentrate and think about what is there about Purim that connects me closer to Hashem, and that's important because Shem Hashem is not in the Megillah. So since it's not in the Megillah, we are being joyous by thinking about how HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even without mentioning his name, HaKadosh Baruch Hu still is the catalyst. Hashgacha, divine supervision, is still there. And I think that fits in with our pasuk as well. I look around and I say, this is only, everything around this is only because of you, Hashem. And that just causes me great joy. B'ma'aseh yodecha aranein. Aranein literally means to sing joyously. And I will sing joyously. about Ma'aseh yodecha, the handiwork. God, your handiwork. In the translation I have here, I shout for joy. I know sometimes they say shout. I think Rina is more joyous singing rather than shouting. I don't know. I'm not so much on the shouting. Okay. Now comes the pasuk that I think is the true highlight of the poem. I think pasuk Vav is the meat of the poem. Because what we've been saying in Aleph through Hey is how important it is to praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Pasuk Vav is the praise of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, as we're saying how important it is, and we should be singing it, and there should be music, and there should be joy, and now this is the praise. And the praise is, Ma gadlu mahasecha Hashem. How amazing, how awesome, how great, how massive is your deeds. Okay, so the translation is, how great are your works, your actions, your accomplishments, Hashem. Ma'od Omku mashkvotecha. Exceedingly profound are your thoughts or planning process. When I look around at nature, I'm supposed to be amazed by not only its beauty, but into the planning and the background of it. I think this pasuk means more and more and more as history unfolds. I think when it was originally said, whether by Adam Arishon or Moshe Rabbeinu, it was very, 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 very superficial. I think by time you get to,
Quantum physics.
well, I was, okay, I guess. Okay, by the time you get to Einstein, I was going to go back a little bit, but by time you get to people who just delve into it, it just becomes mind-boggling. I mean, I don't get it. I mean, but what's amazing is that, that two things are true. Number one, the more and more we look at nature, we're just amazed by its complexity and how we are able to, derive laws, like Newton's law of gravity or Boyle's law of gas or Einstein's law of relativity. This is from observing nature. In other words, and then that's ma'od omku mashavatecha. The more I look at it, the more amazing it is. And the one who expressed it best was probably Einstein, because he was the first one who realized that some of the constants that are true in physics, if they were changed by a tiny amount, the universe couldn't exist. In other words, everything is this is a massive universe that we live in, and it only exists because the tolerances of all of the constants are tweaked so sensitively. I want you to know, one of the other translations that I've seen for this, I can't remember where it is. It's here. It's JPS. How subtle are your designs? How I like profound personally. I think that's the best. What's the translation? Profound. Okay, but there's something about saying subtle that's like, And do you know what's so amazing? Do you know what's so amazing about nature? I look at Google News every day, probably more than I should, but I always try to go to science and see. So Erev Shabbat, NASA has taken a photograph, the furthest out in space they've ever photographed. It's they have some new probe that's out there, like beyond Jupiter, and they took a photograph that's the furthest thing ever photographed. It's just beyond our comprehension how massive everything is. Okay? And then you read about, electron microscopes. And, I remember it was so amazing that IBM had developed an electron microscope, and they were able, with individual atoms, to spell out IBM. And you could see, I forget which atom it was, and you could see IBM spelled in like 10 atoms. It's like, oh my God, this is like, oh. And the atom just breaks down. In other words, there's no end when you go out. There's no end when you go in. We're always finding something smaller. We're always finding something bigger. It's ma'od amku mashavotecha. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. And like I said, every generation who's sensitive to it, should feel a greater and greater appreciation. Now, one of the most impressive people I ever met was Arno Penzias. Okay, no look of recognition around the room. Okay, Arno Penzias won the Nobel Prize for his work at Bell Labs. He was the vice president of Bell Labs for AT&T years ago, and he's retired now. He's still alive, Baruch Hashem, and he discovered the background radiation that proved that there was a Big Bang. He found it by mistake. They were trying. AT&T was trying to work on communications around the world, and they were just working on picking up signals from satellites in 61, 62, I think it was 62, and they built this huge receptor in Maine, and they just couldn't get rid of the static, and they did everything they could, and they finally figured out, oh, that's the background radiation from the Big Bang. And he became Dati. He became Dati. He lives in Edison, New Jersey. And he's just a nice guy. He was a Jew who was born in the old Czechoslovakia. And he said, you know, once I've discovered and concluded there was a beginning, then there must, he had always believed the universe was always here. But once he came up with his information about the Big Bang, he said, oh, there was a beginning. If there's a beginning, there must have been someone that started it. And it was just fascinating. He came to an NCSY event in Highland Park in the late 70s, and I was there, and I got a chance to really talk with him for a few minutes. And he was just impressive on every possible level. And when I read this pasuk with kavanah, which doesn't happen all that often, I think of Dr. Penzias. You know, it's the fulcrum around which this poem is based. This is, this is the apogee, of this poem. And this is what Shabbat should include. Should include some time just thinking about the amazing nature of our universe and our, thanksgiving to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for it. Okay? Having said that, how are we doing? One more pasuk. We'll go to 10. Okay. I usually go to 10. Zion. Now, this starts the bad part of the poem, the negative part of the poem, okay? Here we go. Zion starts the bad stuff. Now, we just said Vav, but now now comes the downer, which is Ish Ba'ar. What's an Ish Ba'ar? A boor. A guy who's empty, who doesn't understand, who doesn't get it. What's my translation? A brutish man. I'm sorry? Empty-headed man. A man or a person, a human, who just doesn't get it. Right? Lo yeda. He's never going to know this. It's all going to go whoosh right over his head. It's such a shame. He can't stop and contemplate. But let's say you've got somebody who isn't totally brutish. He's not a bar. He has some intelligence, but really, he's a ksil. What's a ksil? A fool. But why is he a fool? Lo yavin et zot. Because he can't get it. He doesn't understand. He may have enough knowledge, information. Unlike the first guy. The first guy can't talk about it at all because you ever go on a tour with a group? There's always somebody. Everybody's looking at something gorgeous and wonderful, and he's on his phone. I came with 8th graders from America a number of times, 10. And there's always a couple of kids, and then we have to say, phones off, put them away. Look at this, whatever it is you're looking at, whether it's, Machtesh Ramon, or whatever it is you're looking at, or we just climbed a mountain, I can't remember the name of it, over Eilat. And you look out onto the blue-green, Gulf of Eilat. It's just gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. And then you look around and half the kids are taking selfies, but not even of the view, just selfies of themselves. And oh my God, come on. It's the Chet and Tet are gonna get us, I don't know, like a little upset. We'll see that next week. Zion, it's just sad. It's just sad. There's so much to appreciate. There's so much to love in this world, and yet there are people that just don't get it. And that's included in the poem. And it's included in the poem for a very serious reason. You have to know what not to be as well as what to be. You've got to be able to look around and say, that's not me. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be a bar, a Kasil. I don't want to be a Letz. I don't want to be a cynic, a scoffer. I want to be someone who performs Pasuk Vav. That's what I want to be. When I grow up, I want to be someone who does Pasuk Vav. And it's just a wonderful message in so many ways. We're talking about a Kadosh Baruch Hu, but it's true of everything. We should be able to appreciate the stuff around us, the people around us, the nature around us. I mean, we should be able to do that. We all should be Pasuk Vav. But sadly, we all know a lot of people who are Pasuk Zayin, even Datiyim, that you'd think should know better. It's just more than disappointing. It's tragic. Yeah, and okay. So Ad Khan. So we have 3 more psukim of some negativity here in the middle of the poem. Okay, and then we're going to follow that with the end, which is a flourish to end the beauty of this just marvelous psalm. Okay, everyone should have a wonderful week. Everyone should have a Chodesh Tov. Everyone should have a joyous Adar. Okay, and Bezrat Hashem, we'll see you next week.